everyone, welcome. It's good to have you here with me today. I'm remaking my Woodland Bison tallow soap. This one is colored with a lot of different ingredients. Matter of fact, let me take a look here. Yeah, I've got residue clay, black walnut shell, activated charcoal, we're getting close, my own custom ground cacao bean, chocolate beans, cocoa beans, and it is not a chocolatey smelling soap because I'm using sandalwood and cedarwood essential oil. This is one of my most popular soaps here locally. The gentlemen adore this soap. It is a soap that's what's admired by men and women. But I will say that here locally, men really prefer this over all the other fragrance soaps that I have, closely followed by unscented. Although there's a good amount of gentlemen that also like lavender and rosemary. So I thought I would take you along with me today while I put this together. I've had a great day, and I also want to thank you all who came along for my last video. I know that I had not done a video in a while. I'm trying to get back into the habit of doing weekly videos, at a minimum one a week, and I think I'm doing pretty good. This is just 4 or 5 days after the last video. For me, that's a step in the right direction. I want to thank all of you who left such nice comments on that video. Some of it was good advice and also some good supportive comments that I appreciate. And even those of you that criticize, I take those things to heart in a positive way. If somebody says to me, "This is wrong with you," or "You're doing this thing the wrong way," I look into that. That's something I hadn't considered. And maybe it's something I'd considered and I'm just going to ignore. We all have that prerogative, don't we? So I want to thank you all for coming along with me today. Let's get on to putting that soap together. So we're going to go ahead and start putting our Woodland Bison together. I have my bison tallow here and I'm adding in my lye solution. And we're going to go ahead and let the solution start melting our oils, our oil, or tallow, which is pretty hard. All right, here we go. dry. Oh. So the next layer, I'm going to be using ground up cocoa beans, which I've just ground up about a week or two ago. I think about 1.5 ought to do it. Now I'm going to add in a bit of black walnut powder. Just 1 spoon of that. I want it darker, but I don't want it quite black. And finally, a little bit of activated charcoal. And this is right from the Soapy Oaks bamboo. I'm going to add 2 little scoops of that and give it a mix. So I've made a real mess here, but that's just my way. Not every soap is, or soap making, is going to be picture perfect. I was about 5 or 6 years old the first time I helped my grandmother make her very basic lye soap, which was just, she made wood ash lye herself. There, at that time, at least where she lived, out in the country, very rural, there was no store-bought lye, but, or at least that she had access to. And you have to consider this was back in the 1960s, very different world than it is now. And it was basically pig lard from her pigs and wood ash and water. And anyway, so that means I've been making soap for one way or another for over 50 years. Why do I tell you that? Because I just want you to realize that even people who've made soap pretty much their whole lives still can be messy, still can be imperfect, and it's okay. I'm just scraping out my bucket here. All right, so let's see what we can do here. We're going to let this set up for me about 24 hours, but for you about 1 minute, and we'll get this cut. Nice. You know, I forget time and time again I have a tool, several tools actually, to, what's the word? I don't know, to go down in the mold and blend my soaps. I can't think of what it's called right now. And I would get better swirls. I just have been so busy, and like I said, I'm getting back in the habit of soap making on camera again, and I just forgot. So these are more, I would say, loops than swirls, but I like them. I think that they're quite nice, actually. They're not nearly as swirly as perhaps I would like. And the gray from the walnut hull and the black from the charcoal are a little too close. In retrospect, I would have used a little bit less of the walnut hull, and actually said that in the video. That I was using less than, I was only using a partial scoop or one scoop, but because I know it can go a little gray. But I think they're pretty nice. I wasn't going for wood grain or anything like that. That's a different kind of a pour. But I do like in these bars, darker colors. I've actually had people ask me to add more dark, more black. I've actually had that request in this particular soap. This one has a nice variation, I think, of colors, but it's just not something that I did in this particular case. I didn't stir it, and I really meant to do that. I just forgot, but they smell so good. And as I've said in other videos, I don't think most people order my soaps for appearance. They order them for the ingredients, but I've never claimed to be a great artisan of soap design. But again, I think they came out nice. These are what I call a lazy soapers. I'm not a lazy person or a lazy soaper, but I took a lazy method, just pouring it directly into the mold to get a swirl. You know, there are some interesting little variations, but, and I know, you know, what needs to be done. It's just, I don't oftentimes remember simple things when I'm real busy, like, you know, going back and using a swirling tool in my soaps. Now, the reason why I normally don't cut the ends off my bars, I have, out of this cutter, I get 11 bars generally per loaf, but I took these out of the mold a little early, and so the ends are a little banged up, so I just cut the ends off just so they all came out nice. So that's why I'm cutting these differently than I normally do. I will tell you that this may be the last time I make this blend. I can't afford sandalwood essential oil anymore. This was the last of a batch. And the same with patchouli. The patchouli that I buy last year was a little under $500 for a 5-pound bottle. It has now gone up to $1,000. It has doubled in price, and I don't think my customers are going to be willing to pay that extra. And the same for these. Sandalwood essential oil has gone way up in price, and I believe it's even becoming endangered, so it's going to be harder to come by. But anyway, here they are. I overall pretty pleased with them, even though I didn't do the swirl the way I should have. But I want to thank you all for coming along with me today. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you back soon. Have a great day, everyone. Goodbye.